and start recording. All right, so in our file, if we go up to your profile, your preferences, and you go to material right here, here's where it sets the default material for everything. So anytime you start a new file, this is going to be your default material. So right now it's set as steel, and we can be a little bit more fine-tuning with it. So this is actually steel, it's A36. So I can pick down A36 and pick that exact type. But here it sets it for kind of everything. I want to do it for my component. And so as I create my stuff, I can right click on it and I can go to physical material and I can pick what it is. And I can just drag it onto my stuff. So I can go down here to metals. I can just grab this and drag it onto it, or even onto that component there. And I go here and I go to properties. It's going to tell me. Right now, there's nothing there, but it would tell me what it is in all the properties. So let's create something.
Oh, because you were leaking.
So that's the material, the physical material. So that way we can check the weight of it, so we know how much it weighs. But it's going to be A36. That's the material they make structural steel out of.
Infusion, okay.
No, that's structural steel pieces. So I-beams, channels, angle iron. It's A36 steel. That's how it comes. That's what it is. So in Fusion, we can just assign that to it. I'm going to need to draw that shape, right? The shape. But before I even get there, I want to figure out how my thing's going to fit, right? And so if I just draw one piece going this way, am I lined up with my origin and everything? No, right? So if I'm looking at my thing, the first kind of thing is, how do I want to fit this on my origin? How do I want to be looking at it when I'm drawing? Okay. Which way do you want it? Or you want to draw that one first? But do you want it going this way or that way? So since you have a picture here, it might be good to draw it so it's going the same direction as the picture. That's probably what I would do. And so if I'm here, I would probably want to draw on this plane with the 10 going this way along the red axis and the 5 going along the green axis, right? So that way, the picture I'm looking at is the same orientation as what I'm looking at here in the home view, just to kind of keep it simple. So from that, it's like, okay, now what do you do? Where do you start? I've seen a couple of different approaches. And actually, the way that I started it at first, before I actually thought about it, was different. Because I just drew a piece of the channel going this way. And was like, wait a minute, that's not lined up to the origin at all. Drawing one piece of channel is fine, but trying to do this whole assembly, that's not going to be the easiest way. So what do you think I should do to lay that out? How should I position it to the origin? What should I do first? Ready to go based on the origin? Yeah, that works. But of what size? And what were you drawing first? You're drawing the piece of channel. Which way did you make it? Did you make it go this way or that way? That way? That one? Yeah, so if we want the 5 going across, just set a rectangle, then we can at least, make it go that way. That would work. If we do it this way, then it's going to be offset from the side, right? Maybe the first step is that we want to figure out where these pieces are going to be. We want to sketch the whole thing and just kind of do some planning that way. So maybe I want to go in and sketch here, and now I can do either a regular rectangle or center rectangle way until it 5 feet by 10 feet. Right? Get the whole thing in there. And now I can draw in where I think I want these to be. And kind of do some planning here. Kind of just a 2D plan. I can kind of move these back and forth and then add dimensions to fine tune it. So I can say, that's pretty close. Oh, that's 30. Maybe I'll make that 36. And then here, oh, make that 18. So I can kind of get a general feel of it that way. So this is kind of, in my usual process, I would sketch something on paper. Then I would usually, if I'm doing a full thing from scratch, go to AutoCAD, do some basic layout stuff so I know how big things are, and how things are going to fit. Because sometimes in AutoCAD, doing that is a little faster for me, instead of having to make a bunch of 3D stuff and trying to put it together. And then I go in here. But doing a sketch here is another good way to do it. And I can use this later, or I can just kind of turn this off and forget about it. Okay? Well, I'm actually just going to use this as a guide. I'm going to turn it off. Go in here and turn that off. I want to see it so I can get back to it. Dating something. Do you want to see something that's a little bit more advanced but cool? Or do you want to keep doing it kind of on a lower level? Lower, easier level. Because this is, when we get to SolidWorks, this is how you're going to do it in SolidWorks. You're going to create a sketch, and you're going to say, make this kind of tube. Make this kind of tube. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
We'll do it the fun way. So instead of going through and making the parts themselves, we're going to use this sketch to help lay out everything else. Okay? And actually for that, I'm going to, instead of making a center rectangle, make it just like this front thing on the midpoint, just to get rid of some lines and stuff. All right, so I have this there. I'm going to finish it. So now I know my basic outline of the trailer. So I need to create my C-channel, right? So I'm going to create a sketch here, and I'm going to go ahead and make it on this plane. So I want to make one of the channels going across. And I have a nice origin there I can work off. But if let's say I wanted to do this one back here first for some reason, how would I make this line show up on my current sketch plane? Project it. So I go to create, project, I just pick that. Now I've got a point there. And now I can just do a rectangle like that, right? I can dimension it by 2 or my 1.5 by 3. So because this line is the outside rectangle, right? I can finish it. I can extrude it. Oops. That first one off, just so I can kind of see this one. And do I want to go just one way?
No, symmetric.
Yeah, I want to do it symmetric. And if I say my extents type, I can say, I can't do 2. Oops. I can't do a 2 there. I can drag it over there, but I want it to be the same width as this all the time, right? Remember how I said we could do that? Go. I go into the parameters. That one. So D11 is my 5 foot. I can tell it extrude, symmetric, the overall distance, and make it D11. Now it's going to always be that width. Kind of cool, right? So that's one of the things, if you set it up with that sketch first, we can do that. But I'm gonna make this, instead of making it D11, I wanna make it only 12 inches. I'm only gonna make that 12 inches. I can adjust and edit it whenever time I want anyway. But yeah, I want to make sure that's the right size, right? The right weight. I want to try and get this inside measurement a little bit closer to what it actually is. So that way, when I take the measurement overall, it's going to give me the right weight. Because if I just draw this whatever, it doesn't matter for the drawing, but the mass is going to be different if it's different. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 1 foot piece because that's what it's based on. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to create a sketch on this side. And what does my cutout need to be? So I need to cut some of this out, right? Right now I've got a full rectangle there. What do I need to cut out? Like that trapezoid, right? Like, I just need to kind of cut out this line, that line, right? And we only know this thickness though. And that thickness is 258. Let's go here. Oh, which side is cut open? Is it the outside or the inside cut open?
The outside.
The outside cut open. So I want to make sure I cut out the right side. So I'm going to go there. I'm just going to go over a little bit, go straight down, and go over a little bit. I'm going to get that right shape-ish drawn in. Right? Main thing is get the right number of things. I need to center this and make it even, right? How can I do that?
Dimensions.
4 dimensions. How can I make this centered and make these two angles the same? What? Draw a line from the midpoint of there to the midpoint of there. Then make that horizontal. Did that, so just drag it back and whew.
Now the sides are ridiculous.
Okay. Drag it in here like that. No big deal. Now it's centered, but these lines aren't the same. How do I make those lines line up the same? Yeah, make them equal. So equals that line to that line. Anytime I need to center something, this is what I do. I draw a line from midpoint and make the other things equal. And so that's not part of the profile. Right there, I'm just going to make that construction line just so to keep it nice. Now if I grab this corner move, it stays even. I move this, it stays even. That's behaving the way I want it. Now I can dimension. And this is about as complex as I like to make sketches. I've got 5 lines or 4 lines here. I don't want to do more than that. I am leaving this a little flat here so that way it has space to do the fillet. So let's put in the numbers we know. So this was 0.258. And I'm just going to make this like an 1/8 inch. And I said that I thought this was maybe like 20 degrees. So I'm just going to make that 20.
Well, copy the same one.
Yep, because it's symmetric. It's because making those equal, it has to be the same. I don't know if these are right. I don't know if this is right or that's right. I'm just going to do it. Finish sketch, extrude that all the way through, flip the direction. Okay. That way it cuts it out. And I do it all the way through so that way, because I know I'm going to make this longer later, right? So I want it to make sure it still cuts through. So now I can go here to this component. Oh, so let me go to my physical material. So I'm going to go to physical material. That 6 and just drop it on that component. I can just drag it to it or the component. Now if I right click on this, oops, I forgot my fillets, right? So fillets, there, and there. Now I can just right click here and go to properties, physical, and it tells me the mass. So it tells me the mass in ounces. I know it needs to be 5 pounds per foot, and right now it's 89.472 ounces. So I figure that out in pounds.
16 ounces per pound.
I can do some math, right? Or, I don't like math. Take this. Can I copy it? No, I can't copy it. 89.472 ounces to, and it's a little over 5.5 pounds. So it's 0.6 pounds too much. So I'm just going to go in here. That's in that same calculator. I want it to be 5 pounds. So it needs to be 80 ounces. So now I can easily just adjust stuff. I'm going to go into the sketch. Does this need to be more or less? Less. So let me try 10. And 73 ounces. So I need more.
Maybe
Split the difference and make it 15. So let's try that. $13.5. Do you get the idea? And also, if I change this number, I'd give it a little bit more. So that, and this is I'm gonna call it a day after this one. It's gonna be close enough. 80 point, it's close enough, right? Close enough for government work. We just know that it's off, so we could easily just, okay, that's, now I can. 5, 7, 8. Well, we're off by 0.07%. So by 0.7%, we're off by. So it just means that when we do the overall mass, we just know we need to make it 1% less. Close enough. Now I can go back in and make that extrude my D11. And now it's the full width. Okay. And if we look at our got that, right? So that D11 comes all the way tip to tip, right? Is that the size of the actual tube we need? Oh, right. We need it cut at the edges. So here comes the time of decision making. What do we do when? Because if I cut those two ends of the tube right now, the end of the channel, can I do what I did before and just extrude from the end to make the new piece? If I take this and I cut the end of that, so how am I going to cut this? That's another question. Say, if I want to cut this way, I can just pick this edge right here, right? Actually, do I have an edge there? I do have an edge. So let's see. I do chamfer. If I grab that little bit of a turn off tangent chain, grab right there, and it does do it. So by leaving that little bit of a flat, I can go in and just do a chamfer there and have it chamfered. If my fillet went all the way up and didn't leave that little flat, then I couldn't do that. But if I do this, and I chamfer that first, what happens if I extrude this? I have this shape, which is more than our shape, right? It's not the right shape anymore.
Yeah, it's flat now. It's a flat surface.
Because now that would be over 2 inches wide there instead of the 1.5, because it's going to go perpendicular to that thing. And so if we chamfer it first before we make the other pieces, we have to go through that process again. And I don't want to go through that process again, right? So now might be the time that you go in and extrude a piece that's this long, extrude a piece that's this long, and extrude a piece that's this long, right? Remember, you can always go back and edit it later to adjust the lengths. So but we kind of already know this. How long is this piece right here? These two pieces. Long. It's 5 feet outside to outside. Yeah, because it's -3. So we could make that, or we could just say, D11 minus 3. Or do a full equation and say D11 minus 2 times that measurement. Depends on how mathy you want to get. I don't consider that math because you're not actually solving the problem. You're just setting it up. And I didn't do everything automatically. So I might make those links automatic just here. That way I can put them off to the side, name them, and then put them in where I want them. Okay? My sketch, and I can go in and start, make a copy of this one, put it in. Copy, paste it. I can make it go here, or I can use my joints and put it in, right? So if I say okay, I do a joint, pick there. I put it on this corner here. Oh, look, I can. So on that edge of that sketch, I can put it there. So I can just kind of move it and say, I want it to go there. And then flip it, get it down. Now there's my piece. So I can do a joint between that component and my sketch that I had in the first place. Okay? But I want to make sure that I do my mitered corners first before I do that. Okay?
On the inside.
Yep. So, any questions on that? Nope, they're channel 2. We're just looking at the back side of it. And we can tell because if we look at it here, see the tubing here? You see the tubing? It has the rounded corners. The channel has a square corner. So that's an easy giveaway. The channel is always going to have that outside square corner. So angle iron channel, that outside corner is square. Tubing, the outsides are always rounded. Any questions on this? Nope, you're do as much as you can. Because I made it due next Friday, because we have this week to work on it, next week to work on it. We'll also do drawings next week, so it's not going to be just this. But I'll put in some videos for doing drawings for you to watch over the weekend. And so kind of figure out what size these need to be. So y'all need to make sheet metal components for those, for these two. And this piece here, it's all going to use that same new roll that's 3/16 thick. Okay, I called that out here. The sheet metal is that thick. Okay. Questions? And before you put in the tongue, I'd probably find that coupler and drop it in. That way you know the angle and everything. Okay? Questions? Yeah. Oh, the tubing here, this piece? No, that's 2x3 tubing. So just like we made tubing for the L frame and the U frame, just do that same thing, extrude a rectangle, add fillets, shell it. You'll need to figure out how long that is. And I'll go over there and get a better picture of the end of it. So that way you guys can see what the end of it looks like. You guys want to walk over there?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, sure.
Oh. Actually, I think there's got that class in there, and they're doing a lot of work on that side. They were getting set up when I got there. But I'll go over and take a picture of it. But if you want to go by later, just kind of swing by. It's on, remember the left side of the welding shop where the plasma table was? It's right in there. Just tell Mr. Camacho you're in my class, or whoever, if anyone stops you, just tell them that. Any questions? No? All right.